Module 4, Designing Work for Group Contributions. I've talked about how to design jobs so that employees are more motivated to do the job, or to design their work environment and their tools to facilitate greater productivity. Let's now turn to a discussion of how groups of employees can connect. The entire organization, not just the job, can be designed so as to produce a synergy and make everyone more productive. I am going to discuss two collaborative techniques: employee involvement groups and employee teams. Employee involvement groups. Sometimes known as quality circles, employee involvement groups refer to groups of 5 to 10 employees who meet together on a regular basis to identify, analyze, and suggest solutions to shared problems. These groups could start with problems identified as a result of an attitude survey or a problem meeting some organizational goal. They start by brainstorming, then gathering information about the problem and providing solutions or recommendations. Many end up with the responsibility to implement the solution. These groups must receive training in problem identification and analysis and decision-making tools. Management must then take their recommendations very seriously. Similar to employee involvement groups are employee teams. Formal teams are a part of nearly every employee's work life. Teams are groups of employees who have accepted additional responsibility for handling production or service. Teams replace some of the managerial roles of their bosses by contributing ideas about improving daily work processes. After all, they know the work best. Self-directed teams are a good example. These teams own the work. They plan and control the process, decide schedules, work assignments, and rotations. A team might take over an entire service area or a manufacturing line. Virtual teams are linked through technology. You probably work this way already in some of your courses. When an instructor gives you a group assignment, many of you are busy and can't afford the time to come on to campus to meet. So you meet online, sharing research and ideas. Here again, training of employees is essential. Some employees expect to be recognized with compensation for their extra effort and newly acquired skills. As with employee empowerment, teams need access to information and will become part of the strategic planning cycle. Some managers find it difficult to adjust to the power that these teams enjoy, and some employees don't like the additional responsibility. But when the conditions for effectiveness exist, teams are a powerful means to increase employee contributions. Flexible work schedules. The traditional job requires about 37 to 40 hours a week, spread out over 5 days at about 8 hours a day for 50 weeks of the year. But this schedule may not fit everyone. Mothers with small children, Aboriginals with their traditional hunting and fishing seasons, farmers and their workers whose help is needed extensively in late summer, or students trying to progress through university. In order to respond to these needs, organizations have experimented with a variety of job schedules. These include the reduced work week, flexi time, job sharing, and telecommuting. Compressed work week. The same number of hours are worked, but they are compressed into 4 days of about 10 hours each. This 4-40 arrangement usually occurs Monday through Thursday. Other arrangements such as 4-36 or even 9-80, spreading 80 hours over 9 days, are common. Let's examine the advantages of a compressed work week. Employees may book their dental appointments on their free days and not take time off from regular work days. Absenteeism is reduced. Commuting time is reduced by 20%, with less pollution and congestion. Leisure time and family time seems to be increased by having an extra day. The loss of 2 hours each workday appears less significant. Recruitment improves as candidates are attracted to this arrangement. If the work is such that startup and shutdown times are significant, then the overall time is reduced by 20%, thus improving plant utilization. But there are some problems. In some provinces, overtime is highly regulated, so anything over 8 hours a day must be paid overtime. Supervisors seem to feel more stress, but employees don't, nor is there a decrease in coordination or productivity between units. Flex time refers to flexible working hours that permit employees the option of choosing daily starting and quitting times, provided that they work a set number of hours per day or week. During a core period, such as between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., everyone is required to be present. This is done so that coordination between departments is facilitated and managers can arrange meetings or training. The advantages are many. Workers can schedule their hours to meet their needs, so parents of young children may arrange to be home by 4, or athletes can arrange to come in later after their workouts. Many companies are offering flex time to working parents. This will provide the opportunity for employees to maintain a balance between work and life. Tardiness is reduced as people adjust their own biological rhythms and arrive at work on time. Traffic congestion is eased as workers leave at different times, sometimes decreasing the commuting time by as much as 1/2 hour. There are many advantages for employers too. They can increase coverage for customers by always having someone available between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m., for example. This helps service customers who work rigid hours and can have appointments only before 8 a.m. or after 5 p.m. Research shows that flex time helps productivity, reliability, and quality of work. There are some problems around coordination and communication, and keeping premises open longer triggers additional costs such as security or electricity. Also, some jobs, like those of emergency wards, must be staffed at all times. Technology has increased the pace of life in a corporate world, and employers now expect their employees to be connected through smartphones most of the time, even if they are not on the job. There is a demand by the Public Service Alliance of Canada that government should take some steps against this continuous communication, or should pay employees for the time they spend on their BlackBerries after working hours. Job sharing. This is an arrangement whereby 2 part-time employees perform one job that would otherwise be held by one full-time employee. Usually, each works 2.5 or 3 days a week, overlapping on Wednesdays to coordinate. For those working 3 days, their pay is 3/5, but they usually take on additional work. The advantages of this arrangement are similar to flex time. Decreased absenteeism because workers can schedule their appointments for their time off. It accommodates the needs of various people, those with small children who need more parental involvement, or older workers who want to phase into retirement. Job sharing may help eliminate layoffs during troubled economic times. Employers may be able to schedule the coverage for peak periods, so retailers may have both people work Fridays or Saturdays. People may be more productive working only 3 rather than 5 days a week. However, employing 2 people instead of 1 may double the training, orientation, and communication costs, even some office space during overlapping days. The cost of employee benefits may not double as these can be prorated. Telecommuting. Technology has freed us and enabled us to return to the way our ancestors worked, at home, often enlisting the help of our children. With faxes, cell phones, and computers, we can connect to our offices and not waste a minute commuting. A recent study showed that in the USA, there is a huge trend towards home-based telework. That is, 25% of all employed people work from home, while in Canada, only 10% of employed people work from home. However, this number is expected to increase as companies are facing pressure to keep their real estate costs low to reduce their overall operating costs. The advantages of telecommuting are numerous and include flexibility for employees and better ability to attract workers. People who telecommute report higher levels of job satisfaction, better home lives. In other words, they do a better job of juggling the work and family balance. A big saving is the actual time and money spent commuting to the office, and there are indications that productivity increases and absenteeism is reduced. But there are problems. Either the employee or the company has to invest in sophisticated electronic equipment to keep the employee connected and productive. Managers may not trust that the employees are working, and so production goals must be negotiated. There are many unanswered questions, such as, who pays if the equipment is stolen? Another issue is, if the employee has an accident in her home office while doing the employer's work, Who is responsible? Do employees who work at home miss out on job opportunities? Is it out of sight, out of mind? We don't know the answers to these questions, and yet some experts estimate that more and more employees will become telecommuters. One recent study suggested that companies should also consider cultural differences while offering telecommuting to their employees. The study found that not all employees prefer to work from home. For example, an employee who's living in a joint family system might not prefer to work from home, as it's impossible for her to find a quiet place to work. Thus, a real challenge for the manager and HR personnel is to find out who can or who cannot work from home. Guidelines exist for successful telecommuting, including the selection and training of employees and establishing formal goals and communication channels. Thank you for listening and learning about jobs.